Alright, hello everybody. Welcome back to the channel. I got cooler sunglasses this time. I'm not sure if I wore these sunglasses in the last video. Anyways, yeah, it's been a long time. I'm not uploading regularly still, but it is a quiet month for sports. I mean, the Olympics are on, so I shouldn't say it's like super quiet, but those are like a bunch of random sports. I guess there are some good sports on the Olympics, but football is just the U23s, obviously. I am not following what happened there. I heard that Morocco knocked out the U.S., but besides that, I don't really know what happened in the men's. And in the women's, Canadians, despite getting a 6-point deduction, finished second in the group. We won all 3 of our games, so which is good. So yeah, what was I? Yeah, and I guess basketball and tennis are also on at the Olympics. I like those sports, but I haven't really been watching it too much. Anyways, so this is gonna be I know it's sort of early Premier League prediction video. I know the season doesn't start till 2 weeks. So people probably won't be starting to make their videos until about a week from now. But I'm going to be away for a little bit, so I want to make my video a little bit early. So anyways, let's hop straight into it. I got a tier list here, as you guys can obviously see. Yeah, so this is ordered from, so we're starting off with the free relegation teams here. And then we got the teams ranked from 17th to 1st in last season's Premier League, which is good because I'm gonna need it to be ordered like this because I definitely am not going to remember where the teams finished last year. So it's good that it's ordered like this. Okay, so this is kind of my first time doing this tier list sort of thing. I know I tried to make it so you could see the entire tier list and the teams, but you can't. So I'm just gonna have to do it like this. Alright, anyways, so let's hop straight into it. I don't have all the time in the world, so starting off, Southampton, I mean, I'm not gonna think about this too long. They're probably, whoops. Oh, fuck. Okay, I was working before. Alright, they're probably gonna finish 20th, I'm gonna be perfectly honest. Like, I could be wrong about this, but I don't think they're gonna finish in relegation. Oh yeah, I forgot to obviously see here, relegation. I know, so this tier list only has 7 tiers. You got relegation, so 18th, 19th, 20th. Bottom table, 13th to 17th. Mid-table, 8th to 12th. Europa Conference League, 7th. Europa League, 5th and 6th. It's kind of goofy that they just have one spot for the Europa Conference League team, but I guess that makes sense. And Champions League, so 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. And then Champions in 1st. Alright. So Southampton pegged them in relegation. They're probably going to finish 20th, if I'm going to be honest. Yeah. Another team who I fortunately think is going to be relegated is Ipswich. I know they have jumped a couple leagues recently, which does benefit them. They're on a great run of form. I think they were in League 1 2 seasons ago, and then they jumped to the Championship, and now what's the guy's? I forgot his first name, but I know his last name's McKenna. He was linked with Man United and Chelsea, but he got Ipswich into back promoted to the Premier League. But unfortunately, I think we saw it with Luton too. Like even if you're a team who has jumped a bunch of leagues in recent time, the Premier League's a whole different beast than the Championship. And so, like Luton, I think they'll put up a good fight, but I think they'll be relegated. I'll say 19th. I know Luton finished 18th, but this was a weird season. Luton probably wouldn't have even had a chance of staying up if it wasn't for the Everton and Forest point deductions, but yeah, I do feel like the relegation teams will be much stronger than last year. Like, I don't see us having a Sheffield again. Just Sheffield United were really bad. There was a point when you thought, like, maybe is this team worse than the Derby County team from, like, 15 years ago that only got, like, 11 points? They weren't quite that bad, but they did, I think, concede the most goals at any team in Premier League history, if I'm correct. Anyways, next up we got Leicester. And you know what? I think it's a little too boring to do free up, free down. I'm going to say Leicester is going to escape relegation. And, whoops, not mid-table. I think they're going to finish maybe 16th, 17th in that kind of range. Yeah. Because Leicester, I think they're a team where they were like maybe a bit unlucky to be relegated, to be perfectly honest. I mean, it went down to the final day. I was honestly really shocked when they got relegated. I know they come right back up, and now they're in the Premier League. I don't know too much what their squad looks like. Obviously, they're not the same team as like even like they were like 3 years ago. But still I still think they're good enough that they could survive, and I'm gonna say they will survive. That leads me to a team who I think is gonna get relegated in their place. And sorry, Forest, but gotta put you in there too. I know Forest narrowly. I think they finished 17th 2 years in a row, or maybe they finished 16th last year. I don't know. But they've narrowly escaped relegation 2 years in a row, and I'm not just sure. I'm not sure if they'll be able to do it for a third time. So I'm gonna say they're gonna get relegated. Unfortunately. And yeah, so I got the start kind of down now. I'm not going off a script right here, so I'm gonna have to actually kind of think about where I'm putting my next team. So I already had this planned out, kind of what I knew I was gonna do for the relegation teams. But outside of that, I don't know what I'm gonna do right now. So Everton. I'm not sure which teams I can put in the bottom table. Everton will probably be in the bottom table. They'll survive again. I mean, they wouldn't have even been close to relegation last year if it wasn't for the points deductions. But yeah. So I think they'll survive, and it won't be as bad as last time. Now, Crystal Palace is an interesting team because they were in a relegation battle for a good chunk of the season until their new manager came in, and I think his name's Marquise, right? And he pulled them out of that, and they ended up finishing I feel like in the second, since their new manager came in, they had the six, or they were kind of in the upper. They were in the upper half of the table from points since their new manager came in until the end of the season. So I do feel like they have a chance of getting to that mid-table range, if I'm going to be perfectly honest. But who am I going to... Maybe I'll put, I think... No. 13th to 17th, so that would mean 5 teams would go in there. Oh, and I feel like... Oh, this is going to be a bit of a hot take, but I feel like Crystal Palace might end up finishing in 11th or 12th and end up in kind of that lower mid-table slot. Yeah, which, yeah, I think... No, it's not really a hot take since Palace were in that spot a few years back. And I guess this, it depends on if they lose their players or not. I think that might be the problem with doing this tier list so early, which makes me kind of think I should have done it a little bit later before all their players. It's fine. You know what? It's fine. Really depends on if, Eze leaves or something like that. Because I know I know they've already lost Elise. Yeah, oof. Maybe they'll have to drop them in the mid-table, because really... Maybe I'll have to drop them in the bottom table because they might lose some of their players. Guehi's being rumored to Newcastle. I think he is. Anyways, it really depends. If there's a tons of moves before the end of the season, I'll redo this tier list. But I'm gonna keep it like this for now. Yeah, I really didn't think this through. I should have honestly done this a little bit closer to when the season starts. But there hasn't been a ton of moves this summer, if I'm going to be perfectly honest. Maybe injuries. Okay, so Wolves I'll put in the bottom table. I'm not sure. I don't think they'll be 16th or 17th. I think these two, or maybe Brentford or Fulham, will end up in that 16th, 17th spot. I feel like Wolves will end up somewhere in the 13th, 15th. Probably 13th or 14th, actually. I think they were 14th last year, so they'll probably finish in that same slot too. Brentford, they'll probably finish around where they were before. I'm just gonna keep it like this, and then I'll reorganize later. Oh, actually, no. Maybe I'll move. Should I move Wolves up? I'll have to think. Maybe actually no. I'm gonna actually put Wolves up in mid-table with I think they'll be lower mid-table with Palace, and then put Fulham and Bournemouth in here. Yeah. Bournemouth, they kind of overachieved last season, finishing in 12th. I believe they finished in 12th. Yeah, they finished in 12th. I believe they overachieved a bit. So I think Wolves will jump them in for that 12th spot. And Fulham and Brentford, again, they're kind of will be like middle of the bottom table, like 14th, 15th. They can probably these 3 teams can maybe. Actually, I might even include Everton and say these 4 teams can maybe be switched around in any way you want them to, if I'm going to be perfectly honest. But heck, even add Wolves and maybe Crystal Palace into the mix too if you want to there. I think I got that right, though. It's 3 teams in relegation. 5 teams in bottom table. 2 teams, yeah. Okay, Brighton, I'm not going to... I mean, they might end up losing. They didn't definitely play as well as last year, obviously, when they made the Europa League. I think they will remain in 10th, like they were last year. So they were in 10th last year, and I think they will stay in 10th, possibly maybe move up a little bit. Then this is kind of where it gets tricky as you move further up the table. Oh, God, okay. I really haven't been thinking this through. So West Ham, they'll probably be 9th again. I don't feel like I'll see them, Brighton, maybe moving up too much. I feel like United will do better than last year. I don't think they'll finish in 8th again. In 8th, maybe. I think United will maybe finish in a Europa League spot, if I'm going to be perfectly honest, because they did have truckloads of injuries. Now, they will have injuries this season, too. Euro's out for 3 months already, and Højlund's out for 6 weeks, too, I believe. So that's another thing that might derail my predictions if there's injuries. That's the thing. Man United, where could they go? Man United and Chelsea are real wild cards here. Same thing with Newcastle. I feel like they could either do really well, these 3. They could either do really well, overperform, maybe get top 4, or they could, continue doing what they've done in the past, at least Man United and Chelsea, and finish in, 8th or something. And, with Chelsea, I really hate what's been happening. What's been happening to them is brutal. It's been terrible. I think I might have to put them in 8th. First off, they sacked Poch for no reason. Poch was a player who was not a player, the manager who actually got them to start playing like a team towards the end of the season. And then they sacked him for some reason, and they replaced him with Maresca. Which, no offense to Maresca, but I'm not really sure how good he is. I know he got Leicester promoted, but still not 200% convinced, because he's not a super duper proven manager. So I'll put Chelsea in 8th, especially if that whole Fernandes situation can't be good for the locker room. And anyways, they just haven't looked good in preseason either. I think they got beat 4-1 by Celtic. I know City got beat 4-3 by Celtic too, but City weren't really playing any of their good players besides Haaland and Grealish in that match. Which leads me to, I think Newcastle will end up in the Conference League spot, if I'm going to be honest. And now I feel like I had the rest of my predictions laid out here already. So Newcastle, they finished in, I guess they finished in 7th last year too, did they? Yeah, they were in 7th. But unfortunately, they won't be getting any European football because United won the FA Cup, so they get Europa League. but I still feel Newcastle will finish in 7th again. Maybe they could finish in Europa League, but I just don't see United underperforming as badly as they did last year for a second year in a row. And I say that as a City fan who hates United, to be perfectly honest. But I can't really see them failing that badly and finishing 8th another year. So I feel like they'll end up in Europa League spot. And so will... Oh, whoops, did I not grab them? Shit. And so will Villa, if I'm going to be honest. So Villa and United will end up in the Europa League. And then from here, it's perfectly split. Tottenham Hotspur, they'll finish in 4th. I feel like they're doing really well recently. Villa, I have them dropping out and replace. I feel like I have them like switching with Tottenham. I mean, Villa have lost 2 of their best players, and Diaby and Douglas Luiz. They have made some signings, to be fair. But I feel like also with playing Champions League, they might end up having like a Newcastle kind of thing where they might get injuries and stuff from not having necessarily like a super duper deep squad. But I still can't feel. Maybe I'd switch them and United out. To be fair, I think United will finish in 5th. Aston Villa in 6th. No, people might clown at me for putting United in 5th, but people forget that they finished 3rd in 2022-23. They actually had a pretty good season, and I think last year, large part was due to injuries and off-field things of like the Greenwood situation, the Rashford situation. Well, not Rashford, but no, it was Sancho mainly. Rashford also had some sort of stuff where he was talking about leaving the club and that his attitude wasn't good, but Sancho and Greenwood were the main off-field issues there, but I feel like they'll bounce back and they'll end up in 5th, barring any of those weird things that happened last year too. Anyways, so I got Tottenham in 4th. I feel again he'll get them to play good football. And then the top 3, I feel like will stay the same as last year, if I'm going to be perfectly honest. I feel like Liverpool, Arsenal, and City are the only like 200% competent clubs. And even then, I can't see Liverpool. I'll have to switch these 2 out. I think Liverpool will finish in 1st. Okay, it's not letting me do that. Okay, go switch it like that. Yeah, Liverpool, I can't even really see them competing for the title. Like maybe for the first 20 games, but I feel like they'll fall off, especially with their aging. Especially since the core of their club is aging, like Salah getting up there, Van Dijk getting up there. Van Dijk might actually leave. Alisson's on the wrong side of 32, I believe. Well, not the wrong side of 30, but on the wrong side of 30 in football terms, which I guess isn't super old for a keeper. They do have some good young players, but new manager, the new manager, it's not like 200. Arne Slot isn't like 200%. We know he's gonna impress. Like he's not super duper proven. I feel like they could either do really well or flop. And personally, I have him kind of flopping, but I kind of have him in the middle. To be perfectly honest, finishing 3rd. But that's just because I don't see another team that will be able to knock off Liverpool for that 3rd spot. Or it could be a team that could surprise me, but like all of these other teams, like Man United, Chelsea, they've been pretty incompetent recently. Villa and Newcastle, I don't think they've been up at the top of the table for long enough to maybe finish in 3rd, especially with Champions League football for Villa. And Spurs, I just don't think their squad is quite good enough. I feel like Ange is a good manager, and they do have some good players, but I just don't know if it's deep enough, to be fair. It's got enough of star power besides like Son. And Madison's pretty good, I guess, but Madison's injured prone. And Arsenal will be in 2nd. And that's right. Yeah, I have City winning again. Whoops. Okay, wait. I guess I got to put them up here first, and then I got to move them. Yeah, that's the problem. This tier list is not. Yeah, I just don't see Arsenal are the only team I can see winning the league outside of City. And even then, Arsenal, I still don't know. They don't have a proven striker. They might need another midfielder. I just don't know if they can beat City. City has so much depth, and as long as Pep's still there, I feel like they're still going to continue dominating the league. Which, who knows? Then the rest of the league might have a lifeline with Pep maybe leaving after this season. His contract's up. The rest of the league better pray for that to happen. Or else City are going to keep dominating. And I feel like it'll be 5 in a row and 7 of the last 8, which I know it's a boring prediction. I mean, it's a prediction that I want to have as a City fan. But I know it's boring. But, like, Arsenal are the only team that can knock them off. And Arsenal proven 2 years in a row that they might not be quite at that level yet. Like Liverpool are going for a semi-rebuilding phase. I would say maybe if Klopp was still there and they made some new signings, then maybe they'd have a shot. Yeah, although it could be a team that could surprise and maybe come up with a push. Like we never expected Arsenal to. We never expected Arsenal like when they actually, I think a couple years ago when they pushed City for the title for the first time. Nobody really expected them to jump out of the gate and finish second. And there could be a team that could shock us, like Chelsea. Who knows? Maybe they could actually start playing well and get some chemistry. Which I don't think that will happen. I think they have too many players, but yeah. Anyways, that's the predictions. These could end up being 2 IQ or 200 IQ. Although I don't really feel like they'll end up looking too bad because this is pretty safe prediction, not a ton of hot takes. Besides maybe Chelsea in 8th, to be perfectly honest, and Man United in 5th. Maybe could be considered a hot take, and Forest getting relegated, and Palace up in 11th. Maybe could be considered a bit of a hot take. But no real big ones. And anyways, who knows? I might be back here in like a week or so if there's like a bunch of injuries or like transfers that throw this whole thing off, and I might have to redo this whole table. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see. So anyways, thank you for watching. See you in the next one. Bye bye.